Well, tomorrow sees the launch of an ambitious new programme encouraging young people in Britain and France to work together to develop leadership skills in a range of areas, including government and media, the armed forces, culture, civic society. It's called the Young Leaders Programme. It was announced last year by David Cameron when he was Prime Minister and President Hollande, 3 months before the EU referendum took place, and it was billed at that time as an attempt to strengthen the historic relationship between France and the UK. Well, launching it tomorrow will be the French ambassador to the United Kingdom, and she is Sylvie Bermann, and she's with me now. Ambassador, thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I suppose the question, given I mentioned the timing there, is, given that this was conceived and announced 3 months before the EU referendum, is this scheme, therefore, now we're in a different climate today, is this scheme more or less relevant than it was when it was conceived?
Well, I think it's even more relevant than before. But we had this idea because a lot of French people are coming for weekends in London, and 13 million British are going to France for vacation, in Paris, in Brittany, in Dordogne, wherever. But it doesn't mean that we really understand each other. And I think this is very important, and it will be even more important with the Brexit. We are very close partners. Well, the Eurostar is 2 hours' time, but we have different traditions, different systems, so it's very good to increase our mutual knowledge.
My understanding is it'll involve 30 or 40 people on this Young Leaders Programme. How will they be chosen? I mean, they apply, do they? And then there's a process of deciding who gets the place.
Yes, absolutely. There will be a jury to select those people. There should be between 30 and 40. And they are young professionals, and we hope they will have a brilliant future. So it will be, well, in the field, as you mentioned, politics, economy, finance, media also. So some journalists could apply for that, but also science, sport, and all the fields that would be covered.
And what will they do? I mean, what will be the experience that enriches them? Is it just meeting people, or will they be involved in some activity, or how does it work?
Well, it will be a 2-week long seminar, or seminars of high level, 1 year in France, the second year in the UK, and they will meet at the highest level with our political leaders, but also with CEOs and with editors, and they will have some work to do. It's not only to listen, but they will have to understand the different systems and make proposals also to tell how they see our system and how it could be improved seen from the other country.
The reason I'm asking about the timing, obviously, lots of reasons, but because it was conceived as a scheme between 2 member states, can you see it lasting into the future if Britain is outside the EU? Is this the kind of scheme that could survive that new relationship or not?
Yes, absolutely. It's a bilateral scheme, and we have a strong bilateral relation on the field of defense, economy also, and security issues, intelligence sharing, so that won't be affected by the Brexit. And we already have this sort of program with the US and with China. Okay. So they are not members of the EU. It's
not a one-off?
No, absolutely. So it's...
Can I ask you about climate? I mentioned climate earlier, but you know, the political climate has changed. You're here representing the French Republic in the United Kingdom. What is your sense of the way it's changed? Some people say, well, they feel, some of my French friends in the UK say they, in a sense, they feel they live in a slightly different country now. Is that your sense of it?
Well, that's what some French are reporting to me. Some of them think they are less welcome than in the past.
You think that's true?
Well, they reported some incidents, and that's true that the climate is not the same. It means, well, it's not the case with our friends, of course, or political leaders, or MPs, or journalists. It's still very friendly, but I think, yes, the climate has changed.
You have elections coming up in France this year,
yes.
Obviously very important presidential elections. I know I can't drag you into the party politics because you're not allowed to do that. However, It's important to underline, isn't it, that there are many thousands of French people in the UK who will be taking part in that election.
Yes, absolutely. For the time being, there are 300,000 French in this country, and almost 100,000 are registered to vote. Well, they're mainly in London, of course, and so we will open altogether 54 polling stations in order for them to be able to vote during those elections.
And without getting, as I say, into the party politics, the way that we observe the election process in France at the moment is that it's quite, let's say, fluid. There's lots of things happening that are making it less predictable. Is that your perception of it as well here?
Well, of course, I won't comment the campaign, but, well, it's not predictable. That's, you're right, that's the only thing I can say.
When we talk about the kind of politics that we're seeing at the moment at Westminster,
yes,
which you will be following very closely, and the kind of vision the British government's put out today, talking about a truly global UK, looking out to the world, is that a vision that you think makes sense for you as the French ambassador here? Can you see that that is a vision that makes sense? And is it a vision that you think French people, some French people who are maybe not so enamoured of the European Union, could think of in French terms as well? Do you think we're at a time when that kind of message is gaining increasing popularity and strength?
Well, I think, well, there's been a polling recently in France, and there are more people who are supporting the EU because it's important nowadays with continent-sized countries. So we think we need the strength of Europe. And we consider France as a global country as well. We have military interventions in some parts of the world. We are permanent member of the Security Council, and so we consider also ourselves as a global country.